Today I'll be talking about enabling data mesh and transforming your company's data using Microsoft Fabric. So my name is Denis Torres. I'm a former data platform MVP. I'm a trainer with many Microsoft certifications, and I live in Malta. This beautiful picture you were seeing before is the place in Malta. I'm the leader of Malta Data Platform User Group. And here are my contacts. It will be a pleasure to stay in touch in social media, connecting LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. It will be a pleasure to stay in touch. If you'd like to save the contacts, feel free to get in touch. Some disclaimers about this session. This session is full of personal opinions, so I will explain about data mesh and I will add some personal opinions as well. We'll review well-known concepts, we'll put them together, providing new points of view, and we'll propose a new enterprise data architecture in Fabric related to data mesh. Not only related to data mesh, but a specific way to implement data mesh in Fabric. That's what I will propose in this session. First, let's review basic concepts. Single source of truth. We know that Power BI needs a single source of truth to provide a good work. What this means? This means that Power BI should never be consuming directly from production data. This is a basic point. Because if we make Power BI consume from production data, our data in our company becomes a mess. Reports in two places of the company would be telling opposite information and we would never know what is really true and what is not. That's what we need to avoid, and we try to avoid that using a single source of truth. We integrate the data. I'm using the name data warehouse here, but today a single source of truth can be a data warehouse, can be a lake house. The technology itself doesn't import it too much. So we combine source of data in a single source of truth, and our business users consumes from this single source of truth. That's the idea of a single source of truth. When Fabric got integrated in Power BI, Fabric brought everything to Power BI. So now we can make the entire process inside Power BI and Fabric. We can make the ETL using pipelines, data flows Gen 2, notebooks. The single source of truth can be implemented using data warehouse, lakehouse, CustoDB, and we can be implementing a medallion architecture. On the previous session, you saw some patterns for a medallion architecture. The semantic model got exactly this name. Before there was the name dataset. Microsoft replaced the name exactly to match what we know as semantic model. We can build data marts using semantic model, and we have the reporting all in a single environment. That's what Fabric enables us to do. And now this using the single source of truth pattern. Okay, but this session is about data mesh. If we are talking about something new about data mesh, it's because there is something missing on this previous pattern, on the single source of truth pattern. What could we say that is missing? What do we miss in this pattern? What's the problem? The problem is that if you try to implement a single source of truth in a very big environment, it's impossible that a single data engineering team will hold the entire business knowledge of the company. It's not possible. You can't hold the entire business knowledge of the company by a single data engineering team. What will happen? Many things can happen if you try to do that. One of the situations is that the data engineering team gets more disconnected from the business meaning and they start only doing, following requests, doing what is asked them to do by the business user. So they're not really analyzing, technically analyzing, putting their expertise according to business requirements. They are just following what they are told to do because they don't hold the entire business knowledge. It's impossible for them to hold that. I even heard once from a data engineer that it was not his responsibility to do data modeling. So it becomes a so common problem that they start believing that this is usual, this is normal, this is how things work, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't. So the single source of truth may work on specific scenarios, but when we try to implement it in a very big scenario, we reach this problem. And we need a solution for this problem. That's where data mesh comes into place. What is data mesh? It's important to know that there are a lot of misconceptions related to data mesh. Data mesh is a very new architecture, It's a baby, and many people created misconceptions about data mesh. Let's try to solve these misconceptions. First, what's data mesh? Data mesh was created in 2019. See, it's a baby. And is based on microservices. Data mesh was created as an expansion of ideas related to software development, not from the data platform, but from the software development platform. Software development platform was already working on microservices, and they expanded the idea to the data platform by using data mesh. What is microservices? Microservices is the idea that we should not make a huge application containing all the logic of the business. No way. We should break our business in small domains, which can be called as the application domains. And for each domain, we would have a development team responsible to create and manage that domain. In this case, I'm talking about production. I'm talking about a software development architecture to be implemented in the production side. And what comes on the data platform side, on the data intelligence side? Well, imagine that the company has a microservices environment. If I try to implement this with this microservices environment, a single source of truth, what this means? This means that the teams are already broken down, working individually on each application domain. But if I try to implement a single source of truth, I'll be trying to join all their knowledge in a single point, in a single place, managed by a single team. This may not be a good idea. So, does this mean that we require microservices to use data mesh? No, not exactly. This not exactly means that we require microservices to use data mesh. But this means that they are a good couple. They work very well together. If the company already implements microservices, data mesh is a natural move forward in relation to the data platform. But it doesn't mean we require that. So let's talk more about what is data mesh. Data mesh is to follow the broken down made by microservices and also broke down the analytical part in data domains. Then we are talking now about data domains. So Each data domain is owned and served by a cross-functional team. So different teams will own each data domain, but a cross-functional team. I'll talk more about this. Domains internal data pipelines using common self-serve data infrastructure. Before data mesh, I never heard about this concept. Data infrastructure as a platform. We know infrastructure has a platform, but data mesh is bringing the concept of data infrastructure as a platform. Why? Because data mesh is recommending that your data is broken down in data domains managed by different teams. Okay, but these different teams need to use the same infrastructure for data management and processing. Storage, pipelines, processing, monitoring, the same environment needs to be used. So the data mesh recommendation is to have a implementation of data infrastructures as a platform where a member of one of these domain teams can request, oh, I would like to make a pipeline. And that pipeline is provisioned for this guy. Domain-oriented data served as a product for any other domain to use. So the result of the analytical data for each domain becomes a product inside the company. And one domain can consume the data from another domain. And new data domains can be created correlating data from other domains. Yes, we can correlate data from different domains. Okay, and here we have another picture showing examples of three domains, domains of artists, and what these domains offer, domains of podcasts, and what these domains offer, and domain of users. And it's showing that these domains can relate to each other. For example, the domain users can relate to the domain podcast because the users have watched those podcasts. So those podcasts are included in the user profile as being watched by that user. So one domain relates to another domain. On the data mesh specification, what the specification says is to use APIs. I mean, using APIs for the domain communication allow the team who owns the domain to have freedom to build the domain in the way they like most, using the technology they like most, and expose APIs from that result. And the APIs ensure the communication between domains. But until now, everything may be a bit confused because I'm explaining until now more or less as the original data mesh documents explains. And this brings a lot of confusions. So let's break down some truths and some gossips about data mesh. First, data ownership. There is a misconception in the market that when we talk that each domain will be owned by a different team, we are talking about end users owning their data, about business users owning their data. Then, of course, professionals will complain about that. How an end user can own their data without knowing the concepts of data intelligence, the concepts of data modeling, and so on. So this would be something to complain about, but this concept is completely fake. That's not what data mesh is. There are many people who complain this about data mesh, but it's not true. This is not what data mesh is. What data mesh is? Data mesh involves different teams who own their own domains, yes, but these teams includes a data engineering team. Each domain has a data engineering team dedicated to that domain. So there is no end user making technical decisions over the data. This is fake. These are different data engineering teams becomes responsible for each one of the domains of the company. And what's the advantage of this? Well, the first problem we raised in relation to the single source of truth was that it was impossible for a single data engineering team to hold the entire business knowledge of the company. And this is a fact. It's true. So how do we solve that? We break down the business knowledge and the data of the company in data domains. And for each data domain, we dedicate one specific data engineering team for that data domain. And those data engineers will specialize on the business knowledge of that data domain. So you don't have one data engineering team holding the knowledge of the entire company or trying to hold the knowledge of the entire company and failing. No, it will not happen. You broke down in different data domains, and each data domain is managed by a different data engineering team. And these data engineering teams will work together. The business users and the people who have the business knowledge. The people who have the business knowledge will feed each one of these teams with the business knowledge about the data. So they will work over the domain with knowledge about the business meaning of that domain and specializing on that knowledge. Another misconception, self-service. Data mesh is based on self-service. This means that the end user can build their own data engineering solution. And this would end up on the same complaint than before. The end user doesn't have knowledge to build that data engineering solution. And this, of course, would lead to complaints, justifiable complaints, if it were true. But that's fake. That's not true at all. That's completely fake. That's not what data mesh is. The word self-service, the expression self-service in data mesh is expanding its meaning. Data mesh is I confess, for me, it was the first time I saw self-service used in a completely different context than usual. What's the usual? Usual from many years ago, from Power BI creation, we talk about self-service, about providing end users the capability to consume reports and make their own analysis. That's how we use the word self-service. But in data mesh, the word self-service has a second meaning. And in fact, this second meaning is more used than the first one. Self-service in data mesh means that each data engineering team managing one domain can consume the product built by another data engineering team. One data engineering team can decide that to make their product better, they will consume the product that a second data engineering team built. So there is a self-service consumption. Yes, there is a self-service consumption. And data mesh is very based on this self-service consumption. But it is a self-service consumption happening between data engineers, between data engineering teams and not between end users. So we have a different meaning, different than traditional meaning for self-service when talking about data mesh. And any explanation about data mesh needs to leave it clear that the meaning in the expressions and definition is different. Then, based on all this that we talked about, let me propose a data mesh definition, an easy way to say what data mesh is. Let me propose an easy way to tell what is data mesh. Data mesh is a multiple single source of truth. What sense this makes? Or it is a single source of truth, or it's multiple. How can be a multiple single source of truth? It can be a domain level single source of truth. We break down the data platform in different data domains, and for each data domain, we can build this single source of truth for that data domain. So the domain itself, the data domain itself, will never be duplicated. We never duplicate the data domain information. So there is a single source of truth for each data domain. So we reach a definition of a multiple single source of truth. Data mesh is not the opposite of a single source of truth. It complements the single source of truth because each domain gets its own single source of truth managed by a data engineering team under corporate guidance. If we duplicate the domain data, we would be failing. Then it would not be a single source of truth anymore. We would be failing. But the idea is that we break down the work on the data platform in multiple domains, and then we make a single source of truth for each one of these domains. Lucius seems a bit confused on the chat. Yes, this is a different concept. I'm trying to make more accessible. Is data mesh possible? Data mesh was created in 2019. And I first read about data mesh before I started studying about Fabric. And my first reaction to the papers related to data mesh, my first reaction to the papers related to data mesh was that thing was not possible. That thing was not possible. But let me answer this question on the chat. And the data owners are the producers of the data, right? Not exactly. I would not say that the data owners are the producers of the data, but you can apply different points of view to that. Producers of the data I see as business users who are working on the production applications. So these business users working on the production applications produce this data. These business users will guide the data engineering team in relation to the meaning of the data. They will guide the data engineering team. They will be part of the team that decides how the domain will work because they have the business knowledge. But the technical part is implemented by the data engineering team. So it's not only about producers of the data, because this could be interpreted as being the end user. No. The end user needs to be involved because they have the business knowledge of that data. But the technical part needs to be implemented by the data engineering team, which will be part of this team, and they will become owners of the data together. So getting back to the point, is data mesh really possible? What are the challenges? Data infrastructure has a set. At least before Fabric, did you ever saw a company implementing this correctly? I didn't. I saw many companies struggling to implement infrastructure as a service. And then out of the blue, it became fashion to talk about data mesh and about data infrastructure as a service, about the capability of having a data engineering team who will ask the features and the resources to make the implementation of a data pipeline, for example, and this will be provisioned for them by a central team. This would be extremely complex to implement. Data sharing between domains. The original proposal in the documents is to build APIs. When we think about APIs, we think about HTTP APIs using REST. If I'm not mistaken, this is even mentioned on the documents, this possibility. The documents are from before Fabric. And this was something that I didn't agree with the document. This would not work very well if we were using REST APIs like that. This would not work very well. And the workforce. The workforce is the other challenge. This is one of the biggest challenges related to data mesh. Does the company have enough data engineers to make this kind of implementation? How many data domains the company has? I'm talking about data engineering team for each data domain. This means around 3 data engineers for each data domain. Does the company has this workforce to make the data mesh implementation? This workforce may not always be available. So before Fabric, I myself thought that data mesh was not possible to be implemented, not in the way that it was described on the original documents. Then Fabric arrived, and I changed my mind. I completely changed my mind because, in my personal opinion, Fabric is the perfect environment for a data mesh implementation. I don't know other environment that can be so perfect for a data mesh implementation, such as Fabric. What Fabric offers to data mesh? Data infrastructure as a service is ready to use. If we imagine this being implemented in an Azure platform, for example, a team asking, oh, give me a data factory pipeline for me to implement, and someone needs to provision that data factory pipeline without the networking configurations and so on, this would be extremely difficult. And in Fabric, what happens? A data engineering team can ask a centralized team, I would like to produce a pipeline here. And the centralized team only needs to give them permission to that, because everything else is out of the box. On Fabric, anyone who has permission to can produce pipelines, lakehouse, data warehouse, has all the data infrastructure provided as a service. So one of the core concepts of data mesh is provided by Fabric, is already provided by Fabric. Fabric is naturally a self-service environment. Fabric mixed its environment with Power BI. Fabric inherits the Power BI environment, and the Power BI environment is built to be self-service, to allow users to create their own solution. When we try to create a single source of truth inside Fabric, and I'm not saying that this is wrong, not at all. We can create a single source of truth inside Fabric. But what this means? This means allowing permissions for only a small set of users to create the solution and deny the permission for everyone else. Only that small team of data engineers will be capable to create Fabric elements inside the environment. But Fabric is naturally a self-service environment, so it screens data mesh. So the idea is allow each domain team with the data engineers involved, with a team of data engineers, work with them to raise their hand and say, I would like to create our data intelligence solution here for this domain. And then the Fabric manager only needs to give them permission, to give that team permission to create Fabric objects, only that. Centrally managed by the admin portal. So we have a central managed by the admin portal. We have the self-service and the central management. And Fabric is already implementing the domain concept. We can see the domain concept being created inside the Fabric portal. Data discovery is provided out of the box. Data discovery is a need in the idea of self-service of data mesh, where different data engineering teams can consume from one domain to another. We need to have data discovery. Each data engineering team needs to discover what the other data engineering teams are providing, are making available to the entire company. And we have data discovery out of the box inside Microsoft Fabric. And data certification out of the box, which is part of the data discovery process. Let's review some of these elements. For example, Fabric domain. Microsoft created the domains concept. We can create a data domain, and we can group multiple workspaces as being part of this data domain. This already works for the discoverability to find data related to one specific data domain. And the features related to data domain will only increase. Will only increase along the time. So the environment is screaming to us, yes, this is an environment for data mesh. So we can see here the workspace inside one specific data domain. We can add many different workspaces inside one data domain. Me, for example, I like to break down the objects in different workspaces, and we can do that. And this can still be one single data domain. Not a problem. Fabric object management, what I said. We need to define who can create Fabric objects, data intelligence objects, and who can't. And who will have the permission to create the Fabric objects. Data engineering teams who are the responsible for a data domain. These data engineering teams can, at any moment, raise their hand and say, I would like to have the possibility to create our data intelligence solution inside Fabric. What the Fabric portal admin needs to do? Only to set that permission. Only to allow them to create the Fabric objects. Just that. And the data discovery. We have the data discovery by domain. So one data engineering team can discover what other domains are created and are providing data. And we can discover the data by endorsement. What data is endorsed? This means that the data was checked and proven to be correct and true. And what data is not endorsed? And about the certification. Certification is exactly this endorsement. And it links to the discovery, to the data discovery. We can just create something which is hidden, not discoverable. Or we can promote what we built, make available to be discovered. We can achieve a certification of what we built. Only a small set of data professionals in the company can certify that a specific semantic model, a specific set of data is approved because it's correctly built and it represents the truth. And a new feature added recently is to mark one set of data as being master data. Yes, we can have master data. In my personal opinion, in a data mesh environment, master data is a different domain, a domain specifically for master data. And the data certification process allows to certify data as master data. And this make discoverable checkbox has a very interesting meaning. What this means? This is to allow or not people who doesn't have permission to access the data to see that that data exists. Why? Why someone without permission will see that data exists? Simple, because they will discover that that data exists. They will discover that that data can be used for their purpose, for their implementation. And after discovering that, they will request access to the data. And this can be done inside the Fabric environment. Yes, the request access is part of the discoverability process. And inside the admin portal, we can specify who are the guys, who is the team, who can certify a set of data as being true, certify the data as being true, and who can certify a set of data as being master data. Both are configurable on the portal admin. So we still have a centralized configuration controlling what multiple data engineering teams are individually doing, individually producing. And about sharing data between domains. Well, I mentioned before that the original data mesh paper suggests that this sharing is made through APIs. This sharing between domains is made through APIs, and I particularly doesn't like that idea. So each domain should provide an API which can be consumed by other domains. The domain owner decides what to make accessible. The overall idea makes sense because the domain owners, the data engineering team, together the business users, will have for themselves the internals of the domain, and they will choose what to expose to other domains. So it's an interesting idea. The technical details was missing something until Fabric appeared. How can we implement it in Fabric? Shortcuts. Shortcuts is the key feature for this implementation. Because if we follow the specification by the letter, creating REST API, one domain consuming REST APIs from another domain, besides being very difficult, very hard to implement, it would end up duplicating the data. Shortcut allows the consumption of the data without duplication. The data doesn't leave its original place. We are consuming the data from another domain without the data leaving its original place. Yes, if you follow to the letter the data mesh specification, I would expect the performance to be very bad. That was my thought when I first read about that. I would expect the performance to be very bad. So the idea of shortcuts in Fabric solves this problem. Solves this problem very well. And that's why, in my personal opinion, Fabric is the best, if not the only environment where data mesh can grow, can be implemented and can grow. So they are better than the original specification. How they are better than the original specification? Julio just mentioned about performance for example, and I mentioned about data duplication. If you follow to the letter the specification on the paper, you reach data duplication. But if you use shortcuts on Fabric, you would not have data duplication on that. And Lakehouse can be built as the API holders. Each domain can have a special Lakehouse built exactly to be the API holder. This special Lakehouse would only contain what will be exposed to other domains. How this would work? This is an interesting scenario. This is an illustration of the scenario. You see, we have many domains here. Each domain has its internal area, its internal part, and its API. The internal part can be anything. For example, my suggestion here, medallion architecture. Each domain can have an entire medallion architecture inside that internal area. And it doesn't matter for the others. Each domain can choose their internal architecture because each domain team will have their own data engineering team to make these decisions. So each domain team has their data engineers can decide how they will internally implement the domain. And this matches a lot with Andreas' session, which was just before mine. He showed to you many different architectural implementations for single source of truth, for medallion architectures. And these internals of each domain can be implemented in any one of those architectures. But then we have the domain API. What is the domain API? Lakehouses. Each domain have a special lakehouse. This lakehouse, let's say, this lakehouse is completely empty. And then we start creating shortcuts in this lakehouse from the main domain. These shortcuts will specify what will be exposed to other domains. So this will show what will be exposed to other domains. Can warehouses be used instead of lakehouse? Yes, they can. They can. The data engineering team for each domain can make this choice. There are additional challenges when using warehouses. Let's talk about cross-lakehouse and warehouse data sharing, because the challenges are a bit different, but following this pattern, it can be implemented. So, data warehouses don't support shortcuts. This is the biggest challenge, because this blocks them to consume data from other domains. They can't consume data from other domains. They can expose data, but they can't consume data from other domains. Cross-lakehouse and data warehouse queries are supported in the same workspace. What do I mean? If I have a data warehouse, if I have a lakehouse in the same workspace, they can talk to each other. They can make a cross query between themselves. They can talk to each other. And shortcuts can be created between lakehouses in different workspaces. So the solution for all this is that we can use what can be called a bridge lakehouse. A bridge lakehouse to solve this cross lakehouse and data warehouse problem. How would this work? Let's see this example. Domain A, domain B. I'm oversimplifying the internal part because I already explained it. The internal part can be anything. Domain A, domain B, then domain C. The main internal lakehouse for domain C is consuming data from domain A and from domain B. That's great. It's consuming the data from both. But now let's imagine that I have a domain D, and the domain D is used with a data warehouse. Data warehouse can't directly consume data from other domains because it doesn't support shortcuts. But what can be done to solve the problem? We build a bridge lakehouse in the same workspace than the data warehouse. We build this bridge lakehouse, then the bridge lakehouse consumes the data from the other domains, the other lakehouse APIs. Then inside the main data warehouse, we can create a view, for example, reading the data from the bridge lakehouse and making this data available to the main data warehouse. Besides that, the domain D can expose its data in an easy way using the Lakehouse API to expose its data. Imagine that the domain D consumes some data from domain B and C and then expose part of this data consumed to domain E. So when domain E makes a query consuming the data from domain D, the query is crossing to a shortcut to Lakehouse API, which crossing to a shortcut pointing to the data warehouse. The data warehouse has a view which reads data from the bridge lakehouse, which has shortcuts which read from domain B and domain C Lakehouse API, which are shortcuts to the main lakehouse of each domain. So the data is not duplicated. The data is not duplicated in these scenarios. We are using shortcuts to make the cross-consumption between the environments. So, I hope you like it. We are over the time. I'll be on the chat answering some questions. I hope you like the explanation. And point is that it's extremely important that in a scenario with multiple teams building their own solutions, there is a main guidance about what these teams need to follow to build these solutions. I will skip a bit about what is missing. I'll go directly to some reference links. In the first link, you have a demonstration of these shortcuts. We are over time, and I'm not holding too much on this demonstration because it's just shortcut, but you have a demonstration on this video. And then you have the two main documents related to data mesh. I'll be on the chat answering some questions, and thank you very much for attending. I hope you liked the session. I hope the session brought new ideas to you in relation to what really is data mesh and how you can implement data mesh in Fabric. Thank you very much.